Sharp Game here, coming at you with another episode from ChooseYourRelationships.com, author of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on Amazon.com. You know, I get a lot of questions and a lot of complaints about a lot of black men have a problem with black women's attitudes towards them. And there's a logical reason for that. There's a good reason for that. And I'm going to talk about that in this video. And when I get done talking about this, you're going to realize that in reality, black women really don't have any attitudes. As a matter of fact, I found that black women's attitude is very similar to any other group of women or any other woman. That's just the reality of the situation, really. It's not that really difficult or hard to figure out. Once you step out the situation and look at it from a logical point of view, you would say, okay, this makes sense. But you got to realize that the struggle is real out here in American society. A lot of women are not doing well financially. A lot of women are single. A lot of them got divorced. A lot of them just never got married. And even some women with no kids, they're struggling as well. So the struggle is real out here. And that has a lot to do with how women act and behave and how they live and their attitudes and their emotions. That has a lot to do with that. See, it's like this. See, if you disenfranchise a group of people or a nation of people, or if a woman's not doing well and she doesn't have what she needs, it's very difficult for that person to be a good person or to behave well or have a positive attitude. See, a lot of people in American society, it's in their best interest for people to suffer and be in debt. This is why you're not supposed to talk about any of your problems or tell people what to do or help them in a major way. See, they really want women, or just people in general, to suffer in silence. So you're supposed to suffer in silence and still have a nice, positive attitude, and you're supposed to walk around smiling and laughing like nothing happened. See, that's all a part of the status quo. But I hate to break it to you. Most women, most disenfranchised people, whether it's a woman or family, kids, most people are not going to pull that off. Most people are not going to be able to suffer in silence when there's total chaos around them, when their ribs is touching, when they're hungry, when their kids don't have what they need, when they're unhealthy. Most people are not going to be able to suffer in silence and not talk about it, And see, it's such a hypocrisy living in the United States of America and living around the world too, because there's this thing where, especially if a girl's coming from a so-called third world country, there's already a stigma or a stereotype about her already. If a girl's coming from a third world country or maybe she came from a background where she didn't have what she needed. She, in some cases, she's automatically labeled as being a whore, a prostitute, right? And everybody, well, I'm not going to say everybody knows, but sex trafficking is a real thing. And a lot of these girls that come over here, a lot of them get caught up into that game, you know? And they prey on a lot of these girls because they look at it like this. Hey, I'm taking you from your situation where you came from in your country, and I'm bringing you to America. So I'm doing you a favor, so now you have to do me a favor. You know, so it's that way of thinking. You know, so a lot of these girls will, in most situations, they're going to go along with it because they feel like they don't have anything to lose. So in essence, they're preying on the weak. You know what I mean? That's what's really going on. And it's been going on for a long time. So a lot of black women, even from other countries, even a lot of black women that live here, they're not doing well as you would think. Now, there's a lot of black women that are doing well, you know, but it's not like it should be, because it's struggle and debt. You know, it's in a lot of people's best interest for things to stay the way it is. You know, if too many people are becoming financially successful or have what they need, this economy would plummet. This economy would fall apart. I mean, if you think it's falling apart now, it really would fall apart. They wouldn't be, it would really fall apart. You know, if everyone had what they need, you know, if everyone wasn't sick, if wasn't so many sick people going to the hospital, getting on drugs, you know. So a lot of this stuff has a lot to do with how black women act, just women in general. And I've seen the same correlation, the same quote attitude with other women as well. You know, other women, if you don't, I guess, if you aren't productive, other women will disrespect you as well. If these other women they don't have what they need, they'll disrespect you as well. But check this out. Let's go on the other side of the coin. Now, a lot of these women, non-white women or non-black women, now when a white guy comes in the room, there's never an attitude towards a white guy. You see, and you want to know why that is? Because the white guys have access and control all the resources. So women are almost never going to have an attitude towards white guys. That's why I say the stigma of black women having an attitude is a joke. It doesn't exist. Because if you're the type of guy that have resources, you have money, and you're moving in a shaker, most women are not going to disrespect you. See, us guys, we tend to put the cattle before the horse. We want the woman to respect us, but you have to give the woman a reason to respect you. You know? Now, just because you might have came from humble beginnings, or just because things didn't go as you would like growing up as a kid, that doesn't mean you have to give up. That doesn't mean it was your fault. But you have to start somewhere. You have to cut the chains, cut the shackles, and you have to become that resourceful guy if you want women to begin to respect you and not disrespect you. And now some guys will say, well, I just go to other women. I'll just talk to other women. They don't have a lot of attitude. That's not true. That's not true at all. I found I've found that those other groups of women, they'll ride you much quicker and much faster than black women. I found that other groups of women don't really want to support you as much as you would like. Now, I'm not saying there's absolutes. There's some that do, but there's like a kind of a disconnect in certain areas because everyone, there's a culture difference, and everyone grew up differently or whatever. But I found that if you're an underdog, if you're the type of person that didn't grow up with everything that you needed, I think you have an advantage. See, because a lot of these other women that come over here from other countries, a lot of them kind of have a sense of entitlement. So, and a lot of them don't really understand the struggle. A lot of them haven't had the struggle. So there's already a sense of entitlement there. And a lot of times, a lot of these women, if something happens major, or maybe a natural disaster, or maybe the kids got sick, or maybe something happened on their job, maybe they got fired or something like that, a lot of these women mentally can't handle the stresses. There's certain situations they can't mentally handle it. They don't have the mental capacity to handle it. So that's what I've found. So, there's pros and cons dealing with all groups of women as far as nationality goes. So it's really up to you as a man, on what type of woman you want to talk to. But just keep in mind there are pros and cons. Now, when it comes to black women, on the other hand, most black women at the core, they already know what it is. They already know what time it is when it comes to, being a mover and a shaker, making some shit happen. Most intelligent black women really know what time it is. But a lot of times, a lot of them are in such bad situations. Some of it based on how they grew up. Some of it based on decision they made, and some of it just a combination, of things that happened as they got older. But even still, then they still find a way. And through all of that bullshit that they go through, they still have a positive attitude. They still grinding it out. And I've found other groups of women don't do that so well. That's been my experience. Now you might have a different experience than me, but I've found over the years that a lot of non-black women, they don't really have the focus and the mental capacity to overcome a lot of obstacles that might be in the way. And when things start to happen, they usually kind of, they might have a nervous breakdown in this motherfucker. So like I said, there's pros and cons, but at the end of the day, it's really on you as a man. If you have to give a woman a reason to respect you and not and have a good attitude towards you. You can't expect her just to automatically do that. And I know sometimes this happens on a individual level. It could happen, and I know sometimes it's dependent upon the group that you're associated with on a political level as well. I understand all of that, but at the end of the day, nature will always overrule. Now, it might not play out on a superficial level all the time, like when the camera's rolling. It might not play out within the mainstream media. Most of the time it doesn't. But behind the scenes, when nobody's looking, the strongest males in the flock always wins. That's how it is. Now some guys would say, well, that's not true, because if you really look at the whole landscape of America and how we're being mistreated as a group of people, that how does this add up? Well, as a group of people, yeah, we are getting our ass kicked out here, but as individuals, there's certain pockets of men, black men, that are winning, but you're never going to see it, and you're never going to hear anybody talk about it. And by the time they start talking about it, it's like they'll turn anybody into some type of terrorist or something like that, or they'll rename you and say, oh, you're a Muslim, you're a terrorist, you're Black Lives Matter, or whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, when the alpha male walks in the room, everybody know what time it is. And that's how it is. So the alpha male doesn't necessarily have to have access to all the resources and benefits or whatever. The alpha male he just is what it is. He's just a law unto himself, basically. But on the other side of the coin, the white guys have access and controlled all the resources, but that doesn't make him an alpha male. That just makes him a resourceful person. That doesn't even make him the stronger person. That's just a fake artificial system that's been created for him to win and stay in control and maintain and dominate and rule over everybody else as a collective. But he can't, but that system that's been built cannot be, everyone can't be controlled as far as individuals go. It only works as a collective, as a group. So it's always going to be individuals in the group that's always going to overcome those obstacles, period. So that's how it is. So that's why there's no such thing as a black woman with an attitude. Because black women, they don't have attitudes towards alpha males and the men that control and have access to all the resources. It is what it is. So if you like what you heard, check out my blog, chooseyourrelationships.com. Join my Players Club by clicking the link below. And if you got questions, I got answers. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.